Welcome to In the Green Room. I'm Kinga.
And I'm Chad.
And I'm Mikey.
And I'm Erica.
And who's our new guest, Erica?
I am a travel advisor and event planner. I focus on creating memorable experiences all around the world.
So we're talking travel. Who does not love travel?
And with all this chaos going on in the world, we need some distractions that are positive, like travel.
Absolutely.
Music, travel, love. I can keep going and going, like wine.
I think making memories. Yeah. That's definitely a good one. It's more than just materials.
Exactly.
Well, I feel bad for people that don't have that itch to travel and explore the world, because you only get one life to live.
Exactly.
It's wild to me that there's some people who go through their whole life and they're like, the only other country I've been to is like Mexico or Canada. I'm like,
or not even out of the state.
Yeah.
Like they haven't traveled at
Oh,
all.
that's-
Yeah, it's like,
Well, and this
I
is
literally feel pity for those people because they just aren't exploring the world, and you only get one chance to do it. I think it's such an important part of life, and finding out, what cultures fascinate you and exploring that place more and falling in love with those places more.
Well, that's what life is about. You're exploring, you're enjoying, you're loving, you're connecting. And this is not a funny story. I just came from a funeral. A long time, like a second mom, my only boyfriend before my husband's mom that I very much bonded with. And the reason I'm bringing this up with travel is they traveled everywhere. They were always traveling. And they, trusted their kids and just like, oh, bye, we'll be back. We're going to Europe. In fact, Sean had broken his arm and it was all swollen, but they didn't even take him to the hospital. They were like, just ice it. We'll see you in a week. You'll be fine. Well, his arm got more swollen and more swollen and more swollen. And I had just broken up with him, and I was actually dating your dad. And he called my father to say, oh my God, you're a doctor. Can you look at my arm? And it turns out his arm was completely broken. And so it's funny how like
The
some
story
people
is making him sound like negligent parents.
No, but they
where's the
value
good part of
travel.
this story?
A lot of parents would be like, oh, I'm canceling
That's
my
actually-
trip.
That's how much they like to
actually a
travel.
very
They
European
neglected
style,
their
though.
son's broken arm. I don't know. That's a good
They
thing.
didn't think it was broken. But anyway, long story short, my dad took care of him and he ended up okay. But, people value travel.
They do. They
And
really
and
do.
I do. So where are we going to go? Tell us where we're going to go.
Yeah, well, I think travel is so important because, like you said, Chet, you learn more about other cultures, you see the world,
Yes.
and it's never too late, right? Like, you can still travel. I always think you should always have a passport ready to travel wherever it
Mine's
may be.
ready. Is yours ready?
I actually have a funny
Okay,
story
it's
about
never too late,
passports.
but sooner is better
Sooner
than
than
later,
later.
because
Yeah.
Yes.
I know so many people who are just like in like work mode,
And making money
24/7.
until
They're
I'm
planning
older.
on traveling later, but once you're past a certain age, your body might not be mobile enough to
Right.
travel to some of those places or do some of those things.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's why it's so important to prioritize travel consistently. Like, obviously it's not
Yes.
more important than your life expenses or something, but it should be
Yep.
one of your other top priorities, I think.
I
You
think
can't
so.
wait till retirement.
And what happened with your
Yeah.
passport?
Oh, it's a funny story. So mine had to be renewed. And so my daughters, because the last time we took them to Canada, they were like 2 and 3, right? Or 2 and 5. So they needed theirs to be renewed because kids, they're only every 5 years. We sent everything in. They swapped my daughter's photos. So everything on one was one daughter with the wrong picture, and they swapped them. So then I had to resend them in. I didn't have to pay again.
How can that even happen?
I know. I went to there's a really great place in Tempe. It's like the ASU.
It's like when they chop the wrong leg off when you're at the
Yes.
hospital. Oh my God.
Seriously, I don't want that to happen. But yeah, no, and I was infuriated because last year we wanted to go back to Canada, like back to Vancouver for the fall break. This year, I really am like shooting for Japan and taking them there.
You met the right person because she travels. These two travel more than anybody I know. And you know what? Who's going to start traveling? Moi. Moi. Yes.
Great.
Where have you been? That's exciting. That's what
Oh my
I want to
gosh,
know. Like
yeah.
your
Yes.
favorite places, or like certain like
Mhm.
underrated or overrated places.
Yeah, so actually, I would say a lot of my travel started off with my love of the Spanish language and the culture. And so
You're fluent.
Yep, fluent in Spanish. I'm not like, it's not like my first language or anything, but I can
She's
have a
Princeton
conversation.
grad, Duke grad,
And-
blah, 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 blah. Whoa. For business and marketing. Anyway, go on.
And so I started traveling. I was probably maybe even in middle school. That was my first time going to Europe. I went to Spain. It was like you stayed with a senora, like in their house and all of this, and like really got immersed in the culture. I studied abroad in undergrad. And so really that was a lot of my like love of travel. But yeah, I mean, I've been to Chile. I've been to Puerto Rico, many different places in Europe, Italy, Spain, France. I mean, the list goes on. I've been to China, Hong Kong, Thailand, Dubai. I mean, many places. The list goes on and on. But I would say Europe as well as
What about New Zealand?
I have been.
That's on my bucket list.
I have been in New
one of
Zealand,
my-
Australia, and Fiji. That was all in one trip. That was before I was a travel advisor. But yeah, flew Fiji Airlines. You stop in Fiji and then we went on to Australia and then New Zealand.
And it's important for our listeners to also know she does weddings, but luxury weddings, like
Yes.
small, very exclusive, like you want everything. When we say luxury wedding, what does that mean?
It really just means
Outside of it being expensive.
Well, it's really more about the experience, right? Because, you know, you get into that age range where you're going to a lot of weddings, right? A lot of friends getting married, things like that. A lot of times they start to feel the same, look the same, like everyone's trying to do the same thing. So I love to help people create a unique experience, starting with the venue, fun venue, unique venue, resort. It could be an outdoor venue, just something unique. And I love bringing interesting food ideas into it. So not just the standard catering. I want to work with a caterer or a venue that's going to do something memorable so that they're talking about your wedding, your friends, years from now, not just fades into the distance like many of the others. So
smaller
it's about
and
how
more.
it makes you feel versus the cost. I mean, I guess there's
Because I know you said it's
about how does it make
$1,000 a
you
person.
Feel. Typically
Typically, she does
luxury
$1,000 a person for her luxury weddings.
wedding.
Where are you doing Bezos' wedding? Because I know that's coming up.
I know that would be a great one to get on.
I am not.
Do you have special partners, or like have you developed like partners in your industry? Obviously, your go-to, because I mean, there's got to be like some people that you prefer to use.
Yeah,
when
That's
it comes
a
to
great
like
question.
partners and vendors and
Very
like
great
you know
question.
knowing those ins and outs. Because I mean, that's your entire business is basically selling an experience that
exactly.
there's not going to be some crazy loopholes or something falls through, and you're like giving them a reassurance that the package is just like it's sealed and delivered, it's done. Like,
I love that you're saying that, because we discussed that even when you do not only weddings but travel.
Yes.
She's right there. Like if there's an earthquake in Thailand, she's got plan B ready to go. And all you do is you call her, and she's going to navigate that for you. Correct?
Yep. And I know that's definitely a hot topic to get to.
Yeah.
And yes, to your question regarding the experience, because you were basically asking like what preferred partners, things like that. So yes, there are certain like photographers I'll work with, or videographers. Some people are even doing styling for weddings. So it's like a lot of times.
What does that mean?
Yeah, so a lot of times either the bride or the groom will spend so much time looking for that great dress, right? The Vera Wang dress or whatever. But then the bridal party fashion sometimes is sort of left up to chance, right? And may not always be a cohesive look. So there's actually some people in the industry that will work on like styling the whole bridal party so that you make sure you've got, so they look as good as you do. Cohesive look.
Oh, you know what? My next wedding, I want it to be about me and my husband,
and
everybody else can just. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So there's even people that specialize in like that.
I want your dress to look
and
good.
not just for the wedding, but like the day before, the rehearsal dinner, the day
You
after
have a nice
brunch. So
finale.
you have a cohesive. Some people are looking for more of an editorial look. They want to be featured in the Vogue, the weddings magazines, all of that. Not everyone does, but yeah. So yes, I have preferred vendors, things like that I do work with, and I meet them through industry conferences as well as other networking events. So yeah, a lot of my weddings have pretty much been in Chicago, but I'm expanding to the West, to the western part of the U.S. as well as destinations. So whether that's Italy or Napa.
Well, luckily, Erica does live in Chicago and here. She resides in both, and she's looking to expand that repertoire with her travels.
Exciting.
And we're planning a trip as girls. I don't know. We're talking on the show where we're going to go next.
I don't know. I mean, I'm open to ideas. My passport's in order.
Mine
That's
is
the
too.
question.
And
Mine's
I've
very
got my
well.
and I've got my new go bag, my great go bag. Of course, I wouldn't check that bag for anything because it's like a $3,000 bag.
Oh wow.
It's like, no, I'm not checking that bag. That's my like weekender bag. So I'm like, no.
Okay, so I haven't even I haven't taken the ribbon off yet, but Portia sent me a new travel bag,
Oh, nice.
and it's some commemorative bag, and I'm
Ooh.
excited. But I was maybe gonna re-gift it to Chet. I thought maybe Chet wants a very special bag.
Chet, you want to donate this to the Mikey Foundation? No, actually, my sister. I should tell my sister about this though, because she's the one that has the 917.
Well, so I was very excited to give it to Chet, and then my sister said,
Commandeered it. No, just kidding.
"No," she said,
Let's
"Don't."
get back to talking about travel.
I
How do we get derailed to talking
Well,
about
Yeah,
these
Chet's right.
suitcases?
Chet's
You know-
right. Chet's right. Okay.
That's
Chet's right.
curious as to like what are some of your like favorite destinations that you've
Yes,
been
where
to
do
or
you want
wanna
to go,
go
Chet? Chet travels a lot.
There's a lot of places I want to go. So, I actually am doing a round the world trip next year to cross out like a lot of them
Nice.
in one giant swoop. And it just
Well,
sounds
tell
like
her
a
about
really
it.
fun adventure.
Because you haven't planned it yet.
No, yeah, I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, you already
Well,
booked your
there's a
flights?
plan,
No, I haven't
but
booked it.
now
but,
you need a travel agent to help with some of those
You
other
haven't booked
things.
anything yet.
Well, I know the list of cities, and it's not hard to get flights. You just use whether you want to use Expedia.
And you don't care
or-
where you're going to stay, you're just going to wing it?
No, I'm gonna stay at all really nice hotels.
Well, so again, she's got the line on that. She knows exactly where. And that's a good question too, like between hotels and like Airbnbs, because that has became
Great question.
that got blown up really
Mm-hmm.
crazy, right? And I've had some horrible experiences at hotels, and I'm loving my Airbnbs, but then I've also
The-
had horrible
The
experiences. at
nightmare
Airbnbs.
experiences I've heard about from Airbnbs are way worse. Like
Really?
Than the
oh,
hotels?
oh yeah, like stuff where I've heard of basically the reservation getting canceled on you less than 24 hours before you're supposed to have
How can
the
that be?
property.
There's double bookings.
Yeah.
My girlfriend
Yeah,
runs
double
an Airbnb
booking. So what
in
they'll do-
Sedona.
They'll try to like put it on another site at a higher price, and if it sells on that price on that other site, they'll cancel the other booking.
Mhm.
That's how they do it. And so
But they can't do that,
But
can
no,
they?
with hotels they can't.
Hotels.
With hotels, if you have it booked, you're gonna get that room when you get there. So-
I've had a
Or
problem
they'll
with
walk you
Hilton
to another
though. I had a
hotel.
problem with Hilton
They'll
recently.
oversell.
Really, they oversold and they didn't have a room for you.
They couldn't check me in. They oversold, and then they also didn't give me the room that I had booked, which was like a nice ballpark because this was in St. Louis. And so we have decided, and we usually would stay at the,
That's
the
so
Hilton
frustrating when something like
ballpark.
that happens.
Yeah, so we always stay at the Hilton ballpark, but I'm like, next time we go to St. Louis, we're just not going to stay at that one anymore. I'm gonna Airbnb it. And besides, my kids don't like the hotel life. They like the accommodations of an Airbnb
Why?
because they like me to cook their food.
Oh, okay.
And
you're
when,
good.
when you travel, you eat out a lot. Trust me, that's a great thing about travel. Like food, I'm loving all the food, But when you eat out all the time, you're bound to like maybe get a stomach bug or just not have a good meal or experience.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to have a package where your travel does have recommendations for like good restaurants or even bookings and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I guess maybe I could take a step back too, because some people may be wondering, what even is a travel advisor? Why use one when you can go to
Exactly.
Expedia or Booking.com, things
This
like
is
that,
important.
right? And some people remember like back in the day, right, where it was a brick and mortar store, right, in the center of town. You go in and there's like these brochures sitting on the table, and like some person has to like write out the plane ticket,
Yes.
right? Like it's not like necessary anymore as in every situation, right?
I went
So-
on
Well,
a
I
lot
think it can be necessary depending on your travel experience. Somebody who's not experienced and doesn't know the right places to go or stay, they definitely need one.
They need one.
Yeah.
Or not
And then
even
there's people
digitally
like-
savvy because older generations,
That's
they
true.
can't
They're
get-
not-
my in-laws still print a boarding pass.
Yeah.
Like, do you have an app? You specifically for your travel business?
I don't specifically have an app.
That
but
might be something you want to
could
get
be
it.
something to think about.
You definitely want to expand to that.
Yeah. So I think the way I look at it is there's still value in a travel advisor, which it used to be called a travel agent, right?
Mhm.
So there's a specific why we now say advisor because it's
What's the
consulting.
difference?
Agent sounds more transactional, and it's for us more about, again, experience. It's one-on-one. It's more personal because transactional, you can go on any website and book your hotel, all these different things. So the way I look at it is when you want that extra layer of service, you may be unsure, hey, what is the best tour to book in Paris? Or there are all these hotels. What should I go with. I'm going to Napa, but there's like hundreds of wineries. I don't know where to start. So there's some people who love planning trips. And those sites you mentioned, great sites. I use them a lot myself to like do research. But sometimes you don't want to spend 8 hours on TripAdvisor or things like that, right?
So you're cutting out that
look,
time. Somebody
tell
that
me where
doesn't
to
want.
go.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's some people like yourself, Chad, where you might plan the whole trip, but you say, hey, you know what? What hotels do you have in Paris or London, et cetera, where I can then offer perks sometimes? So
Such
if there
as
are
what?
luxury hotels, so if it's like certain like a Ritz-Carlton or a Belmont or certain hotels like that, it's usually a daily breakfast for two, $100 resort credit, things like that through different programs I'm a part of. There's one called Virtuoso, but I'm in almost all the hotel elite programs. And so you're getting those extra perks for the price. And so that when sometimes
that's
it
that
makes sense to
partnership
say,
that kicks in
hey,
right there.
yeah, I'm going to, it could even be something domestic. Hey, I'm going to LA for some concert. I want to be at like this really great hotel. What do you have in West Hollywood?
Well, I'm sure you've had
So-
even more experience interacting with people having Airbnbs and hotels. Have you heard of any more kind of horror stories from either one? Or no?
Oh, that's a good question.
So, I would say for me personally, and many travel advisors don't book Airbnbs. So I don't book it for clients just because I can't guarantee the quality. I think, some people love Airbnb. There's nothing wrong with it.
I think you can't
But
also. I don't know if you can because it's like a third party and it has to be linked to like the person who's staying there. So I don't even know if you'd even have that option, right?
Right. I don't book it directly, but sometimes I could just recommend options like, oh, here are like 5 cool Airbnbs in Scottsdale for your bachelorette. I'm not booking it for them, but sometimes I may know of some. But that's not really what I specialize in. I can do villas, I can do homes, but I have like third party brokers where the people listing their homes have gone through a vetting process where they are making sure the cleanliness standards are up to par, things like that. So,
but what about for the homeowners, so that we don't have, if you're going to rent out your home, you don't have like a ex-con there.
Right. I think if you're going through a travel advisor, not that we're all like running background checks on everyone, but like I think
typically you're going to be a little more highbrow.
Yeah, you're kind of
safer.
weeding through.
They can't really afford it.
And for me, and not all travel advisors, I do charge a planning fee. So like if people are looking for like a more full service, if they just need a hotel, that's a bit separate. If they know the hotel, they know the dates, but I charge a planning fee. That also kind of weeds through. Some people are just trying to kick the tires and just kind of see. So typically the client that a travel advisor is bringing to someone, a homeowner, is typically going to be, a little bit more vetted, but obviously,
I understand what you're saying. Yes.
Still never know.
Yes.
But yeah, so with a hotel, I can more guarantee the quality. I know the service. If something goes wrong, because it's travel, right? Things happen.
Yeah.
I can call up the general manager at XYZ Hotel in New York, in London, or wherever, and say, hey, like my client just checked in and like,
they had bad food and they're vomiting.
Yeah,
what are you going to do about this?
Or like, hey, they were supposed to have XYZ when they got to their room, or this room, or like,
can you bring them a bottle of champagne?
To be play devil's advocate, I've had mostly good experiences in Airbnbs, and I had one bad experience at an Airbnb where we got in and the air conditioner wasn't working at all, and it happened to be during a heat wave too.
No.
I can't.
Yeah, and so it was like 90 or hotter in that place.
Yeah, I can't do it.
And there's just nothing else they could do really.
What would you do?
But every time I've had an issue at a hotel, they usually will give you another room and then try to compensate you in some way, give you a gift card or something like that. So hotels, while they're not perfect and there still can definitely be some issues, they usually have more backup plans to try to fix an issue. Airbnbs can be so all in, and also sometimes if you don't pay for the insurance or something, you can just be like financially committed to the whole thing, even if you get there and there's something like the air conditioning is not working. So Airbnb can be like kind of higher risk but higher reward. Like you might get some really cool house that has an awesome kitchen and then you're spending less on eating out, but it could also backfire and like the kitchen or the fridge isn't working and the stove isn't working, and then not going to be a repairman for a week.
Hold on.
So it's kind of, it can get either side of the coin.
We were staying in Chicago. I'm going to jog Chet's memory.
The spiders on the windows at the Drake Hotel. I already
How
know
did you
what you're
remember?
But
No.
well,
I'm guessing the story's been brought up more than once, Kendra.
there was a ton of spiders at the Drake Hotel. It's like an iconic hotel in Chicago.
It's a 5-star hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was
It is.
a spider infestation on the outside on the windows. Like you couldn't even enjoy the view. And so,
But what was
this is an
funny-
example of how they fixed it and
Okay.
gave us another hotel room.
Okay.
They comped us a different room.
No, they took us to 3 rooms and all of them had it. And the manager was trying to, at first, pretend like, oh, really? You see spiders?
No, they ended up comping
My
a room at the other
arachnophobia
hotel.
just kicked in
So they
high
fixed
gear
it.
right
Yeah.
now.
No, we went to a
comped
different hotel.
But they comped the
Yeah,
room.
they-
They paid for one night of our room at the Hyatt.
At the
That's how
Park
nice
Hyatt.
it
Okay.
was.
Yeah, they
That's
did.
awesome.
They did
Yeah,
a great
so
job.
that's- yeah.
They
found a
they
solution.
remedied.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all got coasters. We all got fanny packs. We got.
But that was like a
sweatshirts.
true nightmare scenario. Spiders all over the
I'm
hotel.
I'm scared of bugs. But the funny thing was, our sister that lives in Chicago walked into the room and she instantly saw the spiders. And none of us saw it. We were having fun. We were what? And she goes, "Oh my God, what's over there on the curtains?" And I was like, "What?"
No, it was outside. It was on the
Yeah,
window.
no, and she saw it.
Okay.
She's no, they were in and out. They were.
No, they
everywhere.
weren't inside.
I thought they were inside.
No, they
Yeah,
were
they
not. They were
I'll
all
fight
out of
you.
the outside. I think it's because it's such an old building.
It
They
is
like
old.
don't have
Yeah.
any way to
Historic.
fix it. I
Yeah.
guess.
But anyway, they tried to take us to 3 rooms, but then they finally comped us in a different hotel,
Okay.
in a 5-star hotel that was wow.
That's right down
Comparable.
the street.
Yeah, comparable.
And we got food and everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like things happen, right?
Yeah.
Things happen. Things go wrong. I think
Yeah.
whether it's a restaurant or a hotel, it's how do they address
I go
the,
back.
the problem,
They took-
right?
right,
How do
they
they
were
address
great.
it?
And
And that's
this-
what you're
and
gonna
this-
remember. You're gonna say, oh, you know what?
I go
they,
back.
They fixed it. You know,
They
helped.
totally fixed
Yeah.
it beyond and above. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as a travel advisor, they're also, and that was, you all went on your own, right? So imagine as a travel advisor, they're really going to go bend over backwards because to like make sure it's right, because it's like we're bringing them so much business as a collective.
But I'm a
They want to
lion.
make sure.
If the sheep,
Sure.
if somebody was a sheep, and they were staying in that room, they might be like, "Oh, I'm gonna sleep here with all these spiders." I'm a sheep. I'm a lion.
I'm a
Right,
sheep.
I'm a
you
sheep.
raised
I'm a
your-
lion. I'm a lion.
Yeah, you raised your concerns.
Oh,
and,
big time.
you
I was like,
and
you
they
know,
want
we're not-
to make
we're
sure
not staying
people
here.
leave
But again,
happy.
we're paying for that white glove service that you're providing.
right.
Yes.
For the
So
white glove
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Well,
So
Exactly.
Another thing to think about too is there's going to be a slightly higher level of safety you're going to get at a hotel, especially if it's a nice hotel when compared to an Airbnb. Because,
Do you agree with that?
yes.
well, yeah. What do you mean? There's a
I've
whole.
booked enough Airbnbs. There was one in Austin that freaked me out.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Me and my
Really?
girlfriend were staying there.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, they've got ring cameras and stuff like that, but it was a seedy neighborhood. It was super seedy.
Yeah, and as long as you're not at like the
Wow.
truck stop motel, if you're at like even just
Okay.
like an Embassy Suites or like a Holiday Inn, you're still gonna have a lobby
Not me.
with like a proper entrance. Oh yeah, I'm just saying,
That's
like
gonna-
devil's
that's gonna
advocate,
go
even if
for
you're
me.
staying at a cheap
Yeah.
hotel, it's
Yeah.
safer
Some
than
sort of,
some
yeah.
Airbnbs you would end up
True.
in.
True.
I was
So
yes, exactly. I think I was watching some special. I don't remember what TV network it was on, but you know, Nashville is like super popular for like bachelorette
It
parties.
is
Yes.
And there was this
Yes.
whole story about there's I guess a ring of people targeting these bachelorettes that are staying in Airbnbs. They know when they're leaving. All of these
Seriously?
things.
That
Yeah.
scares me.
Oh
And
my
then they go and they
gosh.
break in while they're out at the
and then they
bar.
loot them. They steal all their stuff, and
Yeah.
there's usually designer handbags, watches,
Mhm.
things like that. Like I didn't even wear my watch to San Diego. Like I was like, no, this is staying home in the safe.
smart.
I'll wear my tag, which I've had, you know,
Right.
for
Mm-hmm.
100 years basically. I've had
Yeah.
for a long time, and I was just too nervous.
Yeah.
Like you just
Okay, favorite destinations.
Okay. But domestically, I love Napa and Sonoma. I love wine. I love the
I love it
Alright,
too.
landscape.
cheers.
We need to go
And-
cheers.
And then after that,
Yeah,
I
can you
love
pass it
I like
along?
Carmel. I think it's another area of people are kind of like over it. You know, kind of they've been there to Napa, Sonoma. They've
Napa,
done
Sonoma.
it. I think Carmel by the Sea is another great area.
I love Carmel by the Sea. You've been there twice, Jet.
I have not been to
Yeah.
either of those
Oh,
places.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah, and like the golf course right there, you've got Pebble Beach and everything. It's just beautiful.
So beautiful.
So beautiful.
Okay.
And internationally, I would say Italy, which is probably on most people's list. But I really
love it.
loved
Love
Milan.
Italy. Love Milan.
And
Ooh.
then there's this lake region. Everyone talks about like Lake Como, and all of this. But there's another lake called Lake Brescia, which is maybe
Brescia.
an hour from Milan, and it's like not as well known, and so it's not as many tourists, and that's like a really cool place to go. And it's actually larger. I mean, it's a really big lake, but people it's just not on the radar. So yeah, for me, Italy, and then
So hold on, Venice Beach.
Spain.
Or Venice is where, not Venice Beach, but Venice, not Venice Beach, but Venice in
Venice
Italy
Beach, Venice.
is where the big wedding's going to be that we were talking about.
In Venice?
What wedding?
What's his name? The guy from Amazon.
Oh,
Peso.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Or it could be on Lake
I thought it would be like in a
Flammy's place.
volcano with lasers. Like,
No,
he's like
no.
Dr. Evil. Nobody likes Jeff Bezos. Like,
Well, anyway,
nobody wants to
but
glorify
we're
him.
talking about traveling, and this
Okay,
morning
I didn't know it was going to be in
my
Venice. I
TV was
haven't-
all
I haven't
blown
read
up
on
about
his
my
wedding.
TV was blowing up about his trip and his
Okay.
big wedding and 200 guests.
Really? Okay,
in
I
Venice.
did not know.
And then they talked about George Clooney. He got married there too, and I was like,
Okay.
really? What? Like, tell me about Venice, because it's been a long time since I've been to Venice in Italy.
I haven't been there in a while, but I think one unique property is the JW Marriott, because it's on
Oh, I
its
love a good
own
JW.
sort of
I like ours.
island off of the main area. So you actually have to take a boat. It's almost like this James Bond style entrance.
I
You're
love
on this
that.
like
Oh,
Very
yeah.
cool.
old school boat, so you're like speeding through, and then you've got your
Mm.
hair in the wind,
And you got a
you
scarf holding it
arrive.
down.
Yeah, holding it down, and it's like I've arrived.
A silk Italian scarf holding your hair down.
Yes.
Big white glasses.
Right? But somebody that has
Exactly.
all the money
Something
in the
like that.
world, like one of the richest men in the world, and he's choosing that Venice in Italy to get married, there must be something spectacular about it. I haven't been there for a while. Have you traveled there soon or recently? Okay.
I've never been there. My mom and I were supposed to go on a cruise and do like the whole Greece, Italy, like the whole thing, and COVID hit, and we never went.
Yeah.
So you're not
You still
traveling
need
there
to do
soon.
it. You still
I
need
know.
to
You've
do
never
it.
been
know.
there, not
I
soon,
know.
not traveling. So let's go.
I
There
mean,
must be
Venice-
something amazing about it.
I mean, it's a great location and tons of wonderful hotels.
The bread, the pasta.
Yeah. One interesting thing about Venice that a lot of people don't realize, I didn't even realize myself until after I became a travel advisor, is you can actually drive to Croatia from there. If you want
That's
to
where I wanna
pair it
go.
with like
That's
another
where I wanna go.
country. Like
Yeah.
Croatia is like really popular, things like that.
It
It's like, oh,
is.
Venice, but it's actually like not that far. Like I mean, I would, hire a driver.
That's where we should go,
but,
Venice
like,
and Croatia.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
You can do Croatia. So like there's some cool places you can pair, or if you're into skiing, you could do Venice, and then you could do like mountains skiing. So
But tell me more
Yeah.
about Venice.
Well, one
Why
thing that's
is
cool
this?
about Venice is that it's
The
a place that has a
canals.
limited amount of
Canals.
time you can go because it's sinking. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't talk about that, but it's
Yeah,
one of
is
the
it?
places that's at the highest risk from the sea levels rising.
yeah, it
Yeah,
floats.
like it's gonna be a place you can't visit in 100 years.
Oh, come on. I don't like this Debbie Downer stuff. I don't
I know,
believe
but
that.
100 years I'm not going to be here. So
Yeah, but it'll be cool to think that you were one of the people who got
who
to
got
see
to
it
see it?
while
Yeah.
it existed.
Okay, but anyway, they had a
You know they do
list
something
of
cool
all these
about that.
celebrities
I don't know what
and
to
really
say.
famous people that have all had their weddings there. I'm like, why is it the destination?
I mean,
it
because
must be
it's a
amazing.
city with you've got the water, the canals. There's really no
Okay.
other city like that
It
where
seems
you're like taking a
romantic.
gondola.
Yeah.
There's like a person, the gondola and through the canal. Like, yeah, it's
Well,
just
the other city where you can
unique
get
and-
around by the canals and rivers that nobody talks about is Amsterdam. And that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
it's
And so
one of
I've
my-
done Amsterdam.
That's why that's
They
like
do.
probably my favorite city. It's so cool how you can get from one side to the other using the canals or the rivers.
But
Well-
why are the celebrities not getting married there? Venice might be more
Oh well,
amazing.
Amsterdam it's gotten a little seedier over time. I would say, I went in 2008, and then we took a train to Munich.
Mhm.
We went to like the BMW factory. Like we did a lot of cool things and stuff like that. But honestly, when you go into Holland, it's changed, right? You know.
Well, when I went there right before COVID, I went to Amsterdam like in 2019,
Mhm.
and out of the
Nice.
cities that I went to,
Nice.
it's the one that everybody warned me was going to be like,
The red light?
watch out for pickpocketers, and
Yeah.
it's going to be
Mhm.
dirty and stuff. It was so pristine clean
Mm.
everywhere I went. Didn't see a
Mhm.
single homeless person. Didn't see a single piece of trash. Everybody bikes everywhere.
Mhm.
Everybody's super friendly and doesn't give any shade about speaking English.
But also,
It was-
Chip stays at 5-star places.
Yeah,
so
you do.
where was he
You
staying?
did.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. Well,
like-
I didn't stay in the red light district, but I went to
Yeah.
get drinks
You
there
did
and
go
like
to-
go
you
to
did go to
go
the
to
red
some
light
music
district?
there. Yeah, and
Yeah, I did.
yeah, no, yeah. Well, it's one of the fun places to go to bars and stuff.
Mhm.
And the only thing that I noticed that was different about the red light district is that there were the people outside selling the balloons of like nitrous oxide. Like it was just weird. It's like part of the European culture. There's literally, but that's also was a thing in like Ibiza and Madrid and like all the other cities I went to. But
That's seedy.
well, it's completely legal
Yeah.
even here. People do it here too.
For
It's
what?
not-
For why?
it just gives you a buzz, apparently.
Okay.
It's just like one of the weird things I remember about the red light district is seeing like these lines of people waiting to buy balloons.
I
was like,
remember a
That's so
girl in a
weird. That's
bikini and a
immature.
cowboy
Okay.
hat in a window.
Okay, so back to
That's a thing.
amazing places to travel to, and I was trying to talk about
You were talking about Venice.
one of the richest guys in the world that's getting married.
Why are
in
you so
Venice.
obsessed with that? We can talk about our travel experiences, not Jeff Bezos.
I'm.
It's weird
I
how you're
just wanna
obsessed
say-
with this
I'm not obsessed with
evil
him.
billionaire, like
but-
Dr. Evil. If
But
anything,
they-
I don't want to go to Venice now because he's been there.
They
Like,
had a dozen celebrities that have gotten married there, and I thought like George Clooney.
it's a
and I
romantic
thought-
place because of the gondolas.
But I thought this is like a place I want to go. I went there the last when I was a kid, and we went to Europe all the time. But Venice we stopped going to after I was like maybe 12 or something. So I want to go there because it's been a long, long time.
And you have New Zealand on your list.
I do.
Okay, so wait,
Okay,
where
yes,
else was
let's
there?
segue.
Like, what are your like 3 places on your
Yes.
list? 3 places, like,
Everybody give their
like
3
what
places
are
they want to
your
go.
places
Bucket
that,
list.
like, are up next?
Bucket list. Up next.
Rome,
Okay.
Rome, definitely.
Okay.
Very touristy. I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, it's not like there's the Colosseum or all those other things.
Well,
to
there's
see.
the Pope.
There's also like a restaurant bar that if you can't get into the Coliseum, there's a really great place because a friend did get married out there,
Okay.
and she was using another friend to kind of coordinate and book places. They couldn't get them into the Coliseum, but they ended up going and getting like this rooftop spot at a bar where you could see right into it.
Nice.
And this is where you would come
That's
in with that
smart.
white glove, like you would know some of
That's
those pockets
smart.
like that,
Right.
you know.
See, and that's
That's
the
smart.
exact type of place that I would go. I would find
Mhm.
that type of a place. And we were talking about
Smart.
the most important part of traveling is culture.
Mhm.
What city has more culture than Rome? Like literally.
Okay,
what
I
city?
agree. It's Keith that he said Rome.
Maybe Istanbul, but
Do-
like
Do you know why I said Rome is like so touristy? Because I've been there a dozen times. My parents are so Catholic, and we went there every single year. And so I've seen
okay,
it
so it
many
doesn't have to
times.
be on your list. Our list
Okay,
can be
that's-
different.
okay, so wait,
Not
we got-
everybody's
this is-
list
So
true.
has
what are
to
your
be
This
you
is
got
true.
Rome. Did you say Japan? Somewhere you said Japan. Where?
I'm
where were you?
Japan.
Oh, you're Japan. Okay,
Yeah.
you're Rome.
I don't know.
Where
Is
is
this
this
tough for
from?
me?
It's okay. You don't have to say all three.
No.
What about Hungary?
Japan. You're Japan.
What about Hungary, where
Yeah,
you have
okay,
all
and
these
then New
relatives?
Zealand.
That sounds like that's on your
And
list.
in New
Yeah, Hungary.
Zealand. Okay.
Hungary's
And this
on
is
my
the
list.
thing, like with the travel advisor, of course, like
You're paying attention.
there's so many different destinations in the world, right?
So
like
many.
I can't be know everything about every single destination.
Mm-hmm.
So the great thing is we work with like on the ground partners. So like in Italy, in France, all these places, like I collaborate with tour operators, destination management companies that they're gonna know, hey, this is the bar to go to, this is what you do to beat the line at the Coliseum, XYZ. And so we collaborate
Mhm.
based on what you want. Like if it's a family traveling, that's very different than like maybe someone else traveling like on a guy's trip or a girl's trip or something like that.
Totally.
And we customize it. If you're really into art or cars, like you go to Italy, there's certain places where we can get you to
I want to
like
go
one
to
of the
Porsche.
factories,
Yeah.
and things like that. Where it's like someone
That
who's
would
not
be
into
cool.
cars,
Yeah.
maybe they want to go if
I
they're in
would do that.
Madrid
I
to
would go
see
that.
like the soccer football stadium,
I
right?
do want
So it's
Spain
like things
too,
like that.
but also like
where they
neighboring
know.
places to that. Like that's
Yeah,
that's what I would be paying for. It's like, okay, I'm
End
there.
to end.
Where can I go that's close by that I can add to
Yes.
this trip? So it's
Right.
not just
You're
one
ping-ponging
and-
around.
Yeah, it's not just a one and done stop. Like I just go in and I'm there. I'd want to go to surrounding areas because I'm already over there.
right.
You know?
And they can also
Totally.
tell you, like, sometimes people want to pack so much in, like, they want to see all of Italy in, like, a week. That's like saying, I want to
Mm-mm.
see all of, from Maine to Florida in a week. Well, it's like, that's
Well,
kind of a lot of, I mean, that's
Then
a
you
bigger
need to talk to Chet because he wants to see the entire
swath
world
of land. But you know what I
in
mean?
1
Like,
week.
like you
I
can't.
thought you were.
Sure.
I thought you were
See
planning
all
like a
of
month.
Italy.
Hold on.
a
No,
couple
yeah,
months.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm spending 3 to 4 nights in every city.
So he's
Yeah,
saying,
so
okay,
you're spending time, but some
Yeah.
people they're like, I want to
Do
do
you
all
think
of
that's
Italy,
enough time in
and they
a
want to
city?
do like Amalfi and Rome and Venice and all these things. Like that would be a longer trip like, so we can help advise on that. Like, okay, this time maybe go to this region and like, you know, things like that.
That sounds really good.
Otherwise you get back from your vacation and you're like, did I even have a vacation?
Yeah.
Because
it's stressful.
Well, the thing that confuses me are the people that will stay one night per city. That's crazy to me because then you're checking in and out of a hotel every day.
Who does
Checking
you're
in and out of a
never getting
hotel
comfortable.
is so
Never
frustrating. Yeah.
No, you're not comfortable ever. You're always on the go.
they're just trying to check.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why my number is like 3 to 4 nights per city because I hate
That's
checking out of
Yep.
checking in and out of hotels. That process is annoying.
Yep.
But at the same time, I don't know. I want to do the trip in like a month.
And you're gonna need dry cleaning.
Oh yes, for sure.
You're gonna need like things like that, and like, okay, if things get lost or broken or stolen, you know, you're gonna have to have backups for that kind of stuff. You're gonna have to be able to figure that out with the help of a travel advisor.
Right. Exactly.
So do you think it's very feasible to go around the whole entire world in 1 month? Tell me your opinion.
I would say more time is needed.
Yeah.
I
think so,
think
too.
you can go in depth to like certain region if you're saying several.
That's what
nights
I would
in
do
a-
to a
in
region,
one
like
location.
do all of Europe, right?
I mean, there's still
what I
so
would
much
advise. In my opinion,
to see.
you do what you
Are
want
you
to
trying
do.
to talk me out of my trip? It's already
No.
decided.
No,
He's
it's
like,
not.
the trip is
Oh,
happening.
okay.
No,
Well, here's
no,
the other part of
He
it too.
hasn't paid for
Are you
anything yet.
going solo?
No. I have a few friends. that are
Okay,
going.
that's
He's
another
recruited
thing
them.
too.
The trip is going to make it out of the group chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also,
He's recruiting his
the
friends.
other reason why I picked this list of cities is so that none of the flights are too long. The longest flight is only like 10
Okay.
hours.
But hold
It's
on,
not that bad.
you could recruit Erica and get more friends and only do Europe, and your trip would be free. But just don't let them hear this podcast.
There you
What
go.
the heck is wrong with you?
So
You can
doesn't
do
get
that
what
with
I'm
your
saying.
friends. Go for it.
He doesn't understand what I'm saying.
Here's another product that I think is really unique. It's very high end, very expensive, but it's unique for people who want to kind of do a whole region. Like, for example, Four Seasons has Four Seasons private jet, where they'll like specialize in a certain region. Like, let's say it's Asia or maybe Africa or South America.
Really?
And you basically get on this jet. They reconfigure a full size plane to have like it doesn't have hundreds of passengers. It's like a smaller amount.
That's what I want.
So it's essentially
That's
every
what
seat
You
is
know
first
this.
class.
Yeah.
We'll do
You're
that.
on there with
This
like
is our trip.
you know,
This is our
several
trip. This is our
other
trip.
Yeah.
couples. It doesn't have to be couples, but you know what I mean.
No,
Like,
we're okay with other couples.
yeah, so it's like, I don't know the
What were your
exact number, but
friends,
maybe it's
Darlene?
like 40 people on the plane.
Diane.
Diane.
perfect.
So maybe
Yeah.
fly you around to the different destinations. Now, of course, you're going to stay in Four Seasons at every location.
We love that.
And then you
I
have
almost booked it
a
for
tour
Maui.
guide and all
This is
that
our kind of
things.
trip.
I ended up going with Weston.
And there's also some companies as well that are not Four Seasons, unbranded. So there's a company where same concept, but you may be staying in.
But
different
hold on, do you get a
hotels.
discount because you're focusing on just their hotel? Like, or
No, it's probably
is it-
expensive AF because you're getting like private treatment.
It is very expensive.
Yeah. Not
Um,
discounted.
so there's no deals.
What it is an experience.
It's luxury,
end-to-end.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
luxury. There's
Yeah.
a doctor on board.
Wow.
There's, high-end food.
Oh, there's your insurance
there's
question,
your-
and you're like-
Let's you and I'll do
Yeah.
this.
activities. So it's like you don't really have to do anything except for just pick the itinerary, pay your money, and show up.
So I
The plane's
recommend.
not leaving
I like
without
that.
you. You're
I
not
like
dealing
that.
with.
Yeah, I do too.
Well,
I do
TSA is
too.
just in the U.S., but you're not dealing with the regular airport and it's you're
Customs.
Because Chet,
So
people
you're
get
walking
sick.
up onto the
trip
plane.
that actually inspired my idea to do around the world trip was like kind of a private charter trip
Okay.
like that a comedian I'm a fan of went on, and he was talking about it on
Cool.
a podcast. It was actually chartered by National Geographic, and it was like a round the world trip.
Mm-hmm.
And like in his recount of the story, it sounded just like the coolest adventure ever.
Yeah.
When I was listening to it, my main takeaways were I would be able to pick a cooler list of cities than they went to. And then also I'd be able to do it for less money because he said it was like $45,000 or something like that. And then the third thought I had was
I think it's
it
more
sounded
like
it
100,000.
sounded really fun, but
Yeah.
it also sounded like frustrating to have every single second have your itinerary already planned, because I like to be able to go and
The
like
spontaneity.
explore and find that little coffee shop that's
Yeah.
like you wouldn't find unless you just had a couple hours to kill. Like I
Right.
like having
But by the time
Yeah,
you
like-
arrive in your city and get your hotel room and go to sleep, you'd wake up and you have to get on the next flight.
what are you talking about?
Well,
So this is where the travel advisor comes in, because
Okay.
what you're looking for in travel
mhm.
is maybe very different
Totally.
than what Chet is
Yeah.
looking for. So my job is to listen when someone comes to me.
I love that.
To listen. I have a very extensive questionnaire
This is great.
to understand, because I now know I wouldn't put Chet on that Four Seasons.
Yeah.
Experience.
I
Nothing
love
wrong
that.
with
No,
that
I
experience.
mean, you're definitely going
It
to
is
want a
amazing.
bougie
He doesn't care about
hotel.
that.
You,
But
He
that-
just wants to
I'm
be
saying-
bang, 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 bang.
you want
Let's
to
go.
explore the city. You want to like just run, stumble
doesn't
across a
wanna
coffee
sleep.
shop.
I like to basically
some cool
have
listening lounge.
at least like one museum or like
Yeah.
cultural thing
You
per
need to
day,
have
and then
on speed
like
dial.
one planned meal,
Yeah.
and then everything else just like fill in the blanks
Yeah.
with like improvisation.
Like what I just read about in
Spontaneous.
Japan,
Yeah.
they have these like cool like listening bars where
Yeah.
you're like listening on vinyl.
Well,
They have
Chet's
like you're
is
listening to music on vinyl. You may have a drink, and it's this thing. That's probably not necessarily something you find on like the,
Yeah,
uh,
mainstream
the mainstream,
destinations.
right?
Yeah,
But like if I know you're into
News
music,
service.
Oh,
I'm gonna ask my local partners like, hey, what are the coolest places in
I don't think you
Tokyo
took a sip of
where
it,
Chet
though.
can go and like hang out and like listen to records on vinyl and like have a drink and like go to
that
this
sounds like
cool
my type of
nightclub.
place. Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
like
fun.
that's whereas like you maybe like, you know what? I'm all about the cherry blossoms.
Oh, this is
and I want to
different.
go to the
Yes.
spa and the
a different vibe. Yeah, I want to do the tea party. I want to do
I want to do the sights.
the architectural.
The
yeah.
physical beauty of the of
Yeah.
the mountains and the water and
Right.
yeah.
And so that's really, it's an art. I always tell people it's an art, not a science. And that's why
Mhm.
it helps you sift through, hey, I'm getting all this overload. We get overload of information. The travel advisor can help you like kind of narrow in on the trip,
What we should do.
what you should do.
I feel like you do
I
a
love
lot
that.
of research. Like
Yeah.
you read the reviews, like you
Yeah.
see and know what kind of experience and what kind of stars they have, and
Right.
then you also have other clients that you've worked with, so tried and true.
Repeat customers.
Right.
Yeah, where they know.
Because that's how
What
she
they're
was
getting
able to
to.
quit her other job because she has so many repeat customers that are happy that they keep coming back to her. Let's not forget we're talking about Duke and Princeton grad. So she has done some serious
Well, it
study.
sounds like her next step forward is getting that app, so that way people literally will put in everything of your questionnaire,
Mhm.
and then you will configure it and analyze it, and then shoot back all the things that they need to do, and then it's just like, give me your credit card,
Yeah.
give me that AMX Black, especially if you want that Four Seasons.
But Erica, I
And
want to go
another
back
thing-
to.
Oh.
I think I would love, like what Chet's talking about. This whole 2
Mhm.
nights in Europe,
Mhm.
no sleeping and just singing for
What are
1
you
minute.
talking about?
But not that. I
I
want
said
to do
3
that.
to 4 nights per city. What are you talking
I want to
about?
do Europe. Like
You
that.
want to do Europe,
I want to do Europe like
3 to
that.
4
Like,
nights per city,
like 4 or 5 nights per city.
4 or 5 nights.
My favorite. Yeah, that's just Europe. There's something about Europe that I love. I
That
love
can
the
be
food.
done, but yeah, you gotta have.
It feels safe, and we'll
lot
recruit
of
our
time.
friends. You and I'll be free, and we'll.
But it depends. I only have a couple of friends that are even in that price bucket.
And so that brings me to another subject we haven't really talked about is cruising.
Oh, the cruises, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
And I have to say, I went on my first cruise like when I just graduated from college. It was like a very mass market cruise. It was fun to be with my friends, but I was like, this is not really for me.
Okay, I love that you're
So-
saying I don't like it. My mom
I-
hated cruises. My dad hated cruises, and now my friend Cheryl Cooper Alice got this like a big check to be on this rock and roll cruise, and she said she felt like she was in prison.
Wow.
And I do not want to be. I
Yeah,
don't like
cabin
cruises.
fever for sure. My
no.
girlfrized loves
Everyone
cruises.
gets sick. I hate
They
them.
go
It's
all the
very
time.
polarizing.
I would definitely
No,
have to take
yeah.
the
No,
Dramamine or what is it? The stuff.
No
the
cruises.
Oh yeah,
motion
if you
sickness
get
stuff.
motion sickness, it's not.
Yeah,
for
no,
you.
no.
Yeah.
Like I've got a friend that's like vertigo,
Okay.
just like kicks
No,
in.
you have to
So
deal with the
you're-
shit.
You're
No,
no
no
cruise.
cruise.
Well,
You're no
I-
cruise.
Yeah,
What
I-
it
I've been
is.
on a few and had so much fun,
Okay.
but the ones that I went on were music festival cruises.
Okay.
So every single second, there's like 5 different stages of like amazing artists performing.
Okay.
Okay.
So you
Yeah.
never are like, oh, I'm bored on this boat. Like there's
Right.
literally so much music happening. So all
Yeah.
the ones that I've been on kind of have an asterisk on them because
Yeah.
Okay,
there's that much music.
okay,
and it's-
but I love
the
this
boat
debate.
literally can't be boring if there's the best music happening. And then once you finally get to the beach, you like it's like you time traveled because there's been music happening the whole time. So the
Yeah.
cruises that I've been on kind of have an asterisk.
Okay.
But for I would say if you are looking to just relax,
Mhm.
it's amazing because everything's right there in one place, super convenient.
But what sightseeing did you
Wait,
do? You
listen.
didn't do any
You're not even
sightseeing.
letting me finish the point. I'm saying if you like to relax, it's amazing. But if you want to explore the culture and really like immerse and get lost in like in like the culture, it's not good for that because they just give you like 1 day or 2 days in each
Yeah,
city
and
or
then
something. Or even
if you
like,
miss that
give you,
port, like you're SOL.
Right?
yeah,
You're SOL. Like they literally will leave you behind.
yeah.
Right.
You know, and there's
And I've heard
there's
bad
not a-
horror stories of like basically people being on like the excursion to go like kayaking and them getting a flat tire on the way back, and like they're just getting left behind.
Okay, I
So-
love that we're talking about this because my friend was in Monte Carlo.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say her name because everyone will know who she is. And she and her friend got mad at her. They're not friends anymore because they were on this big thing and they did their little
Big
excursion.
thing. What was it? A cruise?
A cruise.
Yeah, you need to use better words.
Okay.
Come on.
And they were on their little excursion and they had to be back by like 1 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
and they showed up like 10 minutes late. They saw it.
They saw it leaving the port.
and, and it wouldn't come back. It wouldn't come
They
back.
gotta meet 'em at
They
the next
missed it.
port.
I'm
And-
easy. I'll
yeah.
take the ride to Catalina Island, and that's about it. Like that's an easy 45-minute boat ride. I like
Okay.
that.
Well,
I'll
you were
hang
getting
out.
to a final point about
Oh,
cruises.
yeah.
Like, so what was it?
So I was gonna say about cruises,
I'm not
I
a
feel
cruise
like
girl.
it has to be the right fit. So I went on my first cruise in 20 years, like just a couple of months ago. The very opposite of my first cruise. This ship only held like 136 people. It was like super
Oh,
small,
okay.
super intimate. It's one of these ships with like the sails, like the tall sails. Now, for some people, they're not into that. But if someone's like a really like nautical buff, that would be kind of cool. They like literally the crew like climbs up and like
Sharky
opens the
loves
sails.
it. He used to.
And so I said, you know what? That is, you got to
Yeah.
find the right cruise. So there's some
Mhm.
ships where it's like only 300 people, 500 people.
Yeah, it's not the
150
carnival.
people.
Yeah.
And you know where Virgin Voyages is a great example. It's a huge ship, but it's like adults only, no buffets.
Oh, that's another thing.
music.
Too.
I mean,
yeah.
you're in
I don't want a
music.
buffet.
That's,
Oh my God, I
that's
can't
the
stand
place to
buffets.
go for like music. It's Virgin Voyages. It's Richard Branson. So it's like I've just already sold 2 Virgin Voyages just this quarter.
I've met him. I have
And
a
like,
video with
it's
Richard
really
Branson.
interesting. So like I feel like you
Mhm.
have to like match people with the right
100%.
cruise.
And that's why you need
and
an
still, it may
advisor.
not be for everyone, but there's some really high end like cruises. So I'm excited to learn even more about cruises now that I'm kind of gotten back out there in it. And
I have a friend.
the more high end cruises. Not
I have a
the
couple that
mass
goes on
market.
a cruise, and
And
there's
they go
like
around the world.
there's like 30 people that go.
Okay.
It's very high end. The Abbots. It's so high end. Like it's like somebody could buy a house for this money. And that
So if somebody's
I'd be
on the
interested.
fence about going on a cruise, go
Yeah.
watch Hassan Minaj's video about the cruise industry, and it will immediately convince you to not go.
Why?
Because it's like probably
Jeez.
the most exploitative industry in the world. Because
For what?
they pay the workers like almost nothing. Because what they do is they basically operate the boats out of another country, so they don't have to pay them U.S. wages at all. Like a lot of those workers will make like $100 for a month.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's sad.
yeah.
Sad.
And it's because they're getting like free
Accommodations,
food and,
yeah,
and free
food and
accommodations
accommodations, yeah.
taken out of their pay. Yeah, and so
Terrible.
Yeah, and then
No cruise for me.
and then they also have predetermined like allotments of money if they get hurt. Like in the special, Hassan Minaj talks about if they lose their genitals, they only get $15,000 in recompensation.
If they lose their genitals?
Yeah.
I don't even want to ask how that happens.
Oh, because
Yeah.
the like underside of a cruise ship, like where they're like basically doing maintenance for the engines and stuff, a lot of that stuff's not safe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I could see how.
Yeah, so if they get
Ah,
hurt
okay.
operating one of those machines or something,
The
it's not
propeller
like they get
chops
to
it
like
off?
sue. Yeah, it's not like they get to like
It's on
have a
the outside of the
lawsuit
boat, not
and
the
have a
inside.
fair chance to like get
Yeah.
compensated. It's just no, here's your like basically a fraction of what that was worth. So I don't know, this video really it made me feel bad about going on the cruise, but I still went. And so it's like kind of one of those industries that you feel bad about supporting.
We're not exploiting that. No cruises. Okay. Take it off the list.
Also-
Cross it off.
I-
Boom.
Also, I would just say you kind of touched on people getting hurt, and while I'm, travel insurance
Mm-hmm.
is so complicated. Bottom line, the main point I want to say here is get the travel insurance. Depending
This
on
is
see
smart.
where
I
you're
love
going,
this.
Especially if
all
you're
of
going
that.
abroad,
If you're going
especially.
Okay, that's
abroad, it
important.
is important to investigate travel insurance. You don't have to buy it through the tour operator. You can do a third party like Allianz or Travel Insurance. I mean, there's tons of options as an advisor.
But can we buy it
There's
through
certain
you?
ones. I have certain ones that I partner with. Yes.
Okay.
You're
okay.
buying it from the company, but yeah,
So
I
let's
partner
let's
with
say your
them. I
trip
would
is
say, like,
$5,000.
Get the travel insurance.
How much is the travel insurance if the trip's
Or yeah, how is
$5,000?
it? How is the cost structured? Is it like per day of the
Yeah,
trip? Is it by
that's a good
where you
question.
are?
It's
Or-
usually based on like the cost of the trip, so like it'll vary as like a percentage of the cost. Where it gets complicated and honestly, I'm still like wrapping my head around it. Is like, if you want cancel for any reason, then sometimes you have to like add in your flight costs to it and like all these things, and you have to buy within like 21 days, or else like there's just like any insurance. It's like all these, I mean, the
Fine print.
The terms and agreement.
Terms
you gotta,
and agreement.
You got to
So,
look over that.
basically,
stuff,
it's based on
read
the trip
fine
cost.
print.
So your
essentially.
insurance on a $5,000 trip, I mean, I don't want to just make up numbers.
Let's go
but,
ballpark.
It's going to be maybe a couple $100s. Now, if you're booking a $50,000 trip, your insurance is going to be several thousand, probably. Like, in general, we're just saying. You know, and then you want the medical. I mean, there's all these things. You need to be airlifted back to the United States. Like,
oh my God.
all these things happen, right?
And it
Like,
happened. That does happen.
yeah, like, do you need a... Yeah, there's a lot of things, right, that could go wrong.
One of my sisters was dating.
You have to remember, those things could still happen in your little neighborhood. You can't try to stay safe just by staying in one little area.
I know. But Chit doesn't know this. My sister, Convalia, was dating this guy named Christopher, and he was on this worldwide trip like what you are talking about, and he got really sick from food. And the parasites went all the way up and attacked his brain.
Ooh.
Yeah. And he
It's
ended
like
up in the
fresh
hospital.
I thought this was supposed to be a
Yeah,
pro-travel
I
trip.
know.
What the hell? Come on. Wait, we're supposed to be getting people want to travel.
Still this day.
Wait, you're making
Still this
people...
day, he can never drive again.
Oh, God.
Wait, you're making people not want to travel.
And, no.
Did you have any other
I think
horror
I-
stories that freak people
I
out
would
of not
never-
wanting to travel?
I'm very picky about my restaurants. That's why I'm
True.
picky. Yeah.
It's true.
We are.
You,
She knows.
Yeah. You have to have a certain quality. But I think to her, Kinga's
Yeah.
point, is
Yes.
the insurance is needed. Like
Wait.
it's a good. It's
It
not
is.
just a good recommendation.
It
Like
is.
you should really consider making sure that you have that because
Yes.
you know whatever can go wrong will go wrong sometimes.
When you originally told me the story about him getting that parasite, I thought you said it's from when he went swimming in some water.
No.
Like
it
the
was some
flesh-eating
food.
amoeba.
They were in. They were eating
They
some.
could have been
kinda-
eating food.
they
They
were in
could have been
some-
eating fish.
You know what? You have this thing, this circular thing. And
But how do you know?
Oh,
How do you
Yes.
know where he got the
You chop,
parasite?
chop, chop, chop.
How do you
It was-
know where he got the parasite?
It was in India. That's where he.
No,
ended
but
in the
how do you
hospital.
know he got it from food or swimming in the water?
They said it's from the food. He didn't swim in the
Ah.
water. It's from the food, and that's still
The
the
story
day.
changes.
He can't drive. He can't. Oh,
Wow.
Is he still with your
I'm still
sister?
with it.
That's what I want to know.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I love her name by the way. It's very pretty.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we have 3
So,
minutes
that's what I
left.
wanted to say on that.
So on your last 3 minutes, how can we end this show with you telling people how to find you?
Yes, so how to find me. My
Yes.
company name is Elevated Occasions, all about
Elevated
elevating.
occasion.
That's a great
It's
name.
all
Yeah.
about elevating the everyday and making the ordinary extraordinary. So
Oh.
while it is
Making the
great
ordinary
for a
extraordinary.
milestone trip, it could be
I think I'm gonna need you for Japan.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be
And
a
I'm having
milestone
kids.
trip, but as Chet was saying, like
I
you
love
don't
how
have
you
to
invite
wait until
yourself.
then. Where do you want to go this summer? Where do you want to go this fall? Right? Like life is short, so like it doesn't have to be. Oh yeah, when I retire or when I turn 50. Like do it now if you can. Even if it's exploring the U.S. There's also so many great places in the U.S. Even right here in the West.
So
that you can
many.
go.
It's
Yes,
incredible.
great to go abroad, but like there's so many cool places nearby as well. So that's
I
that's
love
what
that.
I would
And
say.
pick
So
a
elevated
smaller-
occasions.
and
This
my-
is kind of a question I wish I
Okay.
asked you earlier. Are there any places you can go to do destination weddings to like save money on the venue? Because everybody tries
that's a
to
good
talk
question.
money, talk about if you go
2
to
minutes
like
left. 2 minutes.
Bali, for instance, that the exchange rate helps, like, you know, the food will be cheaper and stuff
That's a
like
good
that. Are there
question.
any places you can go to do a destination
2
wedding
minutes.
to bring the cost
Well,
down like that?
Sounds like he's getting married.
Mexico, the Caribbean, of course.
Okay,
I
cool.
think obviously there's also places in California that have the same a nice aesthetic, the outdoors, the mountains in the backdrop, where you can get a great aesthetic and not have to go all the way to Italy or something like that, right? You
Yeah,
go to
there's
Napa.
golf courses for that. Like
I love that
Pines
Napa.
and,
Yeah, instead of
Napa's
going
you
to
a
know,
great
Italy.
um,
Yeah.
Or
my-
your backyard. My God, you should
So
rent out your
places
house.
like that is what I would say.
Chet's
We're talking
We're talking about
weddings.com.
destination weddings right now.
And so yeah, it's Elevated Occasions on Instagram. That's my website as well, is Elevated Occasions. I have not posted in a while on social media. I need to
Doesn't
get back
matter.
to
Doesn't
it.
matter. We'll be doing
So
more
I'll be getting
shows.
back on that. But yeah, so that is what I do. I create memories, and that's
Lasting memories.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much. Saving the planet.
One show at a time.
One trip at a time.
Good times.
Woo.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.